Hello and welcome back to the channel. Well, today I'm going to share with you, I'm going to try this anyway, I'm going to share with you my top 10 favorite horror movies from the 70s. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. And it's so hard to pick some top movies, but it is Halloween season. I feel like I'm so far behind also with my Halloween watching, but I'm going to try to do this. Now, I've got 10 favorites here, but I'm going to have also 2 honorable mentions because there's a couple of films I've talked about a lot on the channel, but I would like to include them as they are a couple of my favorite films from the 70s. And one of them I've talked about so much, and that's Halloween 1978. Now, this is a perennial favorite for me. I watch this every year. Love this version of it. Love this commentary that's on this one. This has a commentary from John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis, and I just love the chemistry between them. And it's so fun to listen to. One of my favorite commentaries of all times. But this is an honorable mention, but I wanted to include it here. And of course, one that I talk about all the time. This is my favorite movie of all time still, and that would be Jaws from 1975. And this is the Steelbook from a few years ago. And this is obviously my absolute favorite movie. But I had to include it here. It is from the 70s, but I'm including it here as an honorable mention. And now I'm going to show 10 movies that are my favorites. Now, there's a lot of movies. It's really hard to pick favorites, is the thing I realized here too. So, I'm also a big fan of Hammer films. I'm a fan of Universal horror. So many other, international horror as well. So these are films that are probably more well known, but I wanted to include them. Obviously, if you have a favorite movie from the 70s, a horror film from the 70s, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there's plenty that I've missed here too. And because it's, again, so hard to pick 10 films. But anyway, I've picked a few here. So here we go. The first one is the original Amityville Horror from I think this is 1979, I want to say. 1979. And this is with James Brolin, Margot Kidder, Rod Steiger. Now, Rod Steiger is amazing in this movie. I remember reading the book also. This is again, back in the 70s, reading the book and then seeing the movie. What a terrifying book and movie it is. Now, maybe for these days, it's a little bit tame, but at the time, it was pretty scary and still is pretty scary. Maybe doesn't hold up as well as you would like these days with everything that's out, with all the movies that are out. But this is in my top 10 for the time being. The next one, I talked about this one last year. This is a movie from 1977, I believe. This is The Car, which I think is an underrated horror film. I just love this movie. I rewatched it again last year, and I absolutely love it. With, James Brolin again. James Brolin, horror films. But this is great. This happens to be the Scream Factory release, and it's got interviews with the director and the actors, which I watched last year. But again, for some reason, this one is very terrifying, or just, it's a unique kind of a story. But I really feel like this is underrated, with this car kind of having a devilish personality and coming after people. Is very, very terrifying. I mean, especially when they take an ordinary thing that you see around everyday cars. So it's kind of machinery gone wrong type horror, but I absolutely love it. So The Car, highly recommend this one. Scream Factory, hopefully, I think this one's still available, but great, great film from the 70s. This next one I was introduced to by my good friend Aaron Pynn, who has an amazing YouTube channel. I'm going to link that below. And this is a movie I watched for the first time last year. This is the original Black Christmas from 1974. I'm getting all these years right, I think, because it's small print. And there's the back of that one. And this one is also a collector's edition from Scream Factory, and it's got 2 discs. Let me just open this one up too, and you can see the inside of it. There's the 2 discs on the inside. This is really great. I really enjoyed, my first watch was amazing last year, and this is before Halloween came out. And I thought it was a great precursor to Halloween 1978 and really, really scary. So this has interviews on it, lots of different, a documentary, archival interviews with some of the actors in the movie. John Saxon is in this movie. He was one of my favorites as well. So this is a great one, and in my top 10 horror movies of the 70s now. Thanks to Aaron. Oh boy, this next one is great too. This one I watch every year, and this is the, let's see if I can find the year on this one, 1978, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now this is the remake with Donald Sutherland, and there's the back of that one. And I guess I picked mostly all Scream Factory releases here, but this has a lot of great extra features on it. Directed by Philip Kaufman. It's got an audio commentary with Philip Kaufman on it, new actor interviews as well. This is a really scary movie, I feel like, and just the idea of body snatching, I suppose, where you get replaced with a clone of yourself that's not quite like you, I think is a very scary idea. And this one also has, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I've been doing these Star Trek live streams with my good friend Rob from the Movie Vault. Leonard Nimoy is in this one, so I think originally when I saw this movie, I wanted to see it because of Leonard Nimoy, and he plays a great part in this one. So there's so many great things to say about this. This is absolutely one of my favorites. I watch it every year, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now this one I haven't seen in a long time, but I picked up a copy of it this year. I haven't seen it probably since the 70s, but I hope to rewatch it this year. And this is Wes Craven's The Original Last House on the Left. And this is the Steelbook, which I picked up from Zavvi US. I really like the art on the Steelbook here too. And there's the inside. And this has I'm going to show the inside here in a moment. This also has a very lengthy booklet, which is great. And I was looking for this because I thought it was out of print, but I found a copy on Zavvi US. This is from 1972, I believe. The Last House on the Left. I just love the Steelbook, love the artwork on that. I mentioned this before too, but I love when a Steelbook has very little on it in terms of writing. This one has maybe a little bit more writing than I'd prefer, but it's got some great artwork, and I'm happy I picked this one up. The Last House on the Left, Wes Craven, in the top 10. These are I should have said these are in random order as well, but the next one is a movie that I haven't seen in a long time either, but I really remember it, and that is the original Omen from the 70s. Now this is the Omen collection, which I believe I got this from Best Buy years ago. So this has, I think, all of the Omen films on it. I want to say most of the Omen films on it. Let's see, 4. This has 4 Omen films on it, but the original one is from 1976. And very scary. Again, anything that's supernatural or based on, something that's a little bit religious, I think really gets to me in terms of horror. And so this one falls in that category. So the original Omen on the top 10 list for me. This next one is a Brian De Palma movie based on a Stephen King book, which is Carrie. Now I picked this up, I think I picked this up at Best Buy, I believe, and unfortunately, it's got the original cover here, but they put these cards on the front with the artwork. I really thought these cards were going to be more part of the case, but they're really just on the front, which again could easily come off. But I thought the cards themselves were pretty unique, and I have one for The Fly that's like this too. Here's the back of that one. This is just the basic one. I don't think it has extra features on it at all, but big fan of Brian De Palma, big fan of Stephen King. This one is very scary, the original Carrie, and I know there was a remake of this one as well, but this is in my top 10 as well. Sissy Spacek, John Travolta, Piper Laurie. So anyway, great movie. This next one I have to say, this is a movie that scared me as a kid. I remember watching it on TV, and it was the only movie that I had to kind of avert my eyes from. I had to turn away from the television watching this, and this is probably it was obviously the cut version on television, but it still scares me to this day, and that would be The Exorcist. This also I picked up at Best Buy. It's a steel book. I don't have many steel books, but this is one that I do have, and look at that. Now this is an example too of some artwork on the back where there's no writing on the back, which again I prefer. This is the extended director's cut, William Friedkin, of course. This one also has a digital copy, but this movie still terrifies me to this day, and probably because it was one of the first horror movies that I saw as a kid from the 70s. But great film, and on my top 10 list for sure. This next one is a movie that I watched for the first time last year. It is a Criterion release of Nicholas Roeg's Don't Look Now. This is more psychological, again, supernatural horror with Donald Sutherland, but I was really getting into Nicholas Roeg films last year and really like this one. It's about a couple, basically I'm just looking at the back here, on an extended trip to Venice following a family tragedy. But it's a very, this is the way it's described in the back, a very disturbing tale of the supernatural. Again, here's that supernatural theme. This is really what terrifies me in many cases. It's renowned for its innovative editing and haunting cinematography. So this one, highly recommended. This happens to be spine number 745 from the Criterion Collection. And it is a terrifying psychological thriller for sure. Lots of great extra features on this one as well. So I think there's going to be another Criterion sale hopefully next month. November is usually when the Barnes & Noble sale is again for Criterions. But I think sometimes you can find some of these now on Amazon at half off still, believe it or not, after the July sale. So this one is just great. And finally, and again, I haven't really been keeping, I haven't really been putting these in any specific order. This is just the 10 films that I think are on my top 10. But the next one is Alien from 1979. I just love this cover as well. You can see how the colors move there a little bit. Really great in the back as well. This particular set, this anthology set, I picked up a few years ago. It's really beautiful, this Blu-ray set. And I'm a big fan of the original movie. And you can see here too what a great, it comes out in this book here. Again, great artwork. Just open this up a little bit here. But the original Alien was released in theaters in 1979, and I did see it in the theater. Look at that great artwork though on that, with each of the Blu-rays in there for each of the films. And then in between the films too, there's also artwork, which is really amazing to see. But this is one of my favorite horror films. I suppose you could say it's a science fiction film as well, but I consider it a horror film. I love movies also that especially space movies that are very quiet. And this one certainly starts off that way. Very kind of meditative in a way, this Ridley Scott movie. And I'm a big fan of Alien and the Alien franchise, and so this one's definitely in my top 10 horror films of the 70s. And that's it. That's 10 films plus a couple of extra ones that I've talked about a lot on the channel. Let me know in the comments below if you have a favorite horror film from the 70s. I might also do this for the 80s and 90s or maybe other decades. This is the first time I've really done a video like this, but my favorites change over the years, but I think these have been pretty steadfast in terms of what I like, what I might rewatch. And so, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm also a big fan of Hammer horror, Universal horror, international horror as well. So if you have any recommendations in those areas of some of your favorites, let me know what those would be. Again, as I mentioned, it's so hard to pick favorites or to limit it to 10 films. I'm also going to link in the description below my full horror collection for 2021. I did a video a few weeks ago on my complete horror collection. So there's a lot to choose from, but these are certainly my top. These are certainly in my top 10 films of all time in terms of 70s horror. So thanks so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, click on like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. That would be awesome. I sincerely hope that everyone is safe and well, and I'll talk to you soon.